Okay, those numbers are still going up, which is absolutely fantastic. Brilliant to see hundreds of you here with us today. So I am going to start because we only have an hour of your precious time. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Vicky Hunter. I'm the Portfolio Director for our Business and IT certifications here at PeopleCert, and I will be your moderator for this session. Still going up, which is exciting to see. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to our webinar on continuous professional development today. We will be talking about PeopleCert's pathways to recertification, whilst also sharing some sort of personal experiences around professional development as well. A few housekeeping points first. So the question and answer box will be open throughout the session. Please do add your questions to there and we will try to address as many as possible at the end of the presentations. The session is for 1 hour. It is recorded and the recording will be made available afterwards on the usual channels. So those of you who are regular webinar attendees will already know how much I enjoy these sessions, but I have to say, returning to this topic is great. It's one of my favourites. So ongoing or continuous professional development is a hot topic and one that we at PeopleCert have been spending a lot of time thinking about and making commitments to, both for our customers and for our teams as well. So right now I'm proud to share that we've got hundreds of PeopleCerters, Thanos is one of them, who are upskilling themselves in Prince 2.7. We realised the value the common language and principles could have right the way across the business and not just in project management. So as well as talking to you about continuous professional development, I wanted to share that we're also spending lots of effort and investing our time in it here at PeopleCert, and we're really looking forward to realising the benefits of these commitments to CPD next year. We're lucky enough to have two presenters with us today. We have David Canon, who is a long-term friend of PeopleCert and an esteemed ITIL expert. He's recently taken up a new role as Head of Business Development for the Americas with us, which is fantastic to have him joining us in this way. We also have a Thanos Moraitinis, which is probably close enough to the right pronunciation for him not to be cross with me. He's our fantastic Director of Membership who has overarching responsibility for the MyAxelos platform, but most importantly, the propositions. So all the wonderful new content that we have coming out, all of the work we're doing behind the scenes to make it better, that's all down to Thanos. So thank you, Thanos, on behalf of the members. The Q&A box, as I've said, will be open throughout the session. Please do take the time to pop any questions in. We'll cover as many as possible. But first up, I won't take up any more of your time because we've got a couple of great presentations today. So first up is David. Over to you, David.
Thank you very much, Vicky, and really good to be here. Hi to everybody from all over the place. I see a number of locations here, so welcome and thank you very much for joining. I am just going to share my screen and we will then, I'll commence with the presentation. Okay. So today I'd like to really share a little bit of my personal journey with you as far as continuing professional development goes. And I'd also like to really talk about how CPD works in real life. For those of you who don't know me, which is many of you, I've had a fairly long, as you can see, career involving working at a number of different organizations, primarily in the space of IT service management. And I've learned a lot about my own career development and how to use how to take a continuing professional development approach to my work and my career. But let's just put a little bit of perspective on this and look at how CPD works in real life. Very often we see the term CPD and we look at it as a way of entering information on a website and getting recognition for things that we've done. But there's a lot more to CPD than that when we actually use it in our careers. So it really starts when we get a job based on the current level of skills that we have. So we have a resume or a CV, we apply for a job. And in that CV or that resume, we list the current profile of skills and knowledge that we have and our experience. And on the basis of our current level of career development, we get that job. Now, it doesn't stay still because as soon as you get that job, things start to change. And they start to change because we're applying our existing skills and knowledge in new ways. We're applying it in a new organization. We're achieving different things than potentially we achieved in the previous organization. So we're applying skills and knowledge, and we're learning more as we're applying. We also learn a lot more about how the organization that we're working in works. I mean, it would be lovely if we had a career and that career worked in exactly the same way in every organization that we were in, but it doesn't work like that. Every organization has its own way of working, its own procedures, its own culture, its own way of making decisions. And so as we apply our skills, we're learning about how that particular organization uses my skills and my knowledge. And by doing that, I'm developing more experience. Something else is happening in the organization, and that is that the organization is changing, not because of anything that we're doing, but because it's responding to market needs, or it's responding to new technology or a new idea that's come from somewhere. So the organization changes things, and as it changes, we have to learn how to deal with those changes. That then augments our own knowledge and our experience. If we're a leader in an organization, we start changing things about the organization. So the organization is not only being changed by external influences, but it's being changed by things that we're doing as leaders. But if we're a team member, we are learning about new things that are happening. So we're either making changes or we're learning how to work within changes that are being made. Bottom line is that the skills, the knowledge, and the capabilities that we have start to change and grow as we join a new organization. Now, sometimes at all times, we'll find that our skills are growing, that our knowledge is growing, and that our capabilities are evolving. Sometimes we do that because we want to fit in better with what the organization needs from us. So we joined the organization in a particular job, and within a month or two, they added some more job responsibilities to us, or they moved us into a slightly different direction. Other times, we need to learn something so that we can make the changes. So it's not the organization changing, but we recognize that a change needs to be made, and we have to learn something in order to be able to do that. I think that's been something that a lot of us have had to face in the last 5 or 10 years with this accelerating digital technology. And then, somebody comes to us with a bright idea. We'd like to be able to do this with this technology. And we have to learn about that technology because it's so new. So we go out and we learn about that technology, and suddenly our knowledge, our skills start to expand even more. Now, either we're going to augment or adapt the existing knowledge or skills that we have, or we're going to find ourselves in a position that we need to learn something new. Typically, in real life, it's both of those. So some of the things are applying what we already know. Other things that we have to do in our new job is having to learn something totally new, adding to our existing skills and knowledge. Now, as that organization grows or as it changes, you're going to find a couple of things will happen. Some people will leave. That's normal and natural in any organization. But sometimes you're going to need to add people with new skills, new capabilities. And if that's the case, you need to make sure that those people are the right people. And so you have now, over your time in this organization, you've developed this idea. This is this wall over here. You've developed this idea of what bricks need to be placed in that wall for a person to be successful in this job. So now we know what all of the pieces of knowledge are. We know what skills are needed. We know what kind of experience that person has to have. And we have a profile of the ideal combination of skills, knowledge, and experience. We're able to use that profile to go and find people in the industry that can be part of our team and that can join us. Now, imagine if there was no continuing professional development. Imagine for a moment that you joined a new organization and you had no idea what kind of skills were required to be successful in that organization. Imagine that you were the manager and you were able to finally, after doing some investigation, figure out what the correct combination of skills and knowledge and experience were for your team, and you needed to recruit into that. But there was no way of actually articulating that without putting a very long list into the job description and trying to reach the individuals with that unique combination of skills. It becomes really, really difficult when there is not a starting point, an agreed or common point of understanding what should a person in this particular career stream, what should they know, what should they be able to do, and what kind of experience should they have. CPDs really help us to make that whole task a lot more easy. Helps us use a common language when we're looking for new skills. It helps us to develop common and necessary development objectives for our own teams. But without a CPD, it really is very difficult to achieve. Another reason why it's difficult for us to achieve without a CPD is because we can put goals, career development objectives in people's career plans and so on. But if there's no way of measuring how those objectives are being met and being able to reward people for meeting those objectives, it really just becomes a fairly hit and miss exercise. So it's really important if we have if we have a continuing development program, that we are incorporating that into both our internal team development, our own personal development, as well as using it as a way to find the right kind of people to be part of our team. Okay. The other thing, of course, we don't always like to talk about this when we're working for an organization, but the reality is at some point you may want to leave that organization. Now, there are three options if you want to find that new opportunity. The first option is, if you do not have a continuing professional development program, is you then tend to find a job that matches the entry criteria of the last job. In other words, you're having to do the same thing again. There is no way that you can communicate your career development from the last job that you took to this new job. So people without CPD tend to find themselves on this treadmill of having to do the same job again and again. So what were you doing in your last job? I was the supervisor of the service desk. Great. You can be the supervisor of our service desk. And that may be fine. If that is really what you want to do, perfect. But many people want to do something different, or they want to do something more, or they want to grow to a more senior level. And if that's the case, it's very difficult to do that unless you're able to demonstrate that you have, in fact, advanced your career through your last position. So you can demonstrate the steps that you've taken. You can show exactly what new knowledge you have gained. You can talk about the experience, in other words, how you've applied that knowledge, and you can talk about any new skills that you have learned. And you can communicate that effectively because you are able to connect it or link it to a recognized continuing development framework. Now, if you have CPD, very often what we can do is exactly what I just said, is we can use what we've learned in our last position to formally show that we have grown our career. And that is a very good way of helping us to advance our career into something different. In other words, either a job that involves more scope, or a job that involves more seniority. The other thing, of course, you can do is that you can choose to start a completely new career, which is something that I've done as well. In that case, a CPD may be helpful. But generally speaking, we're really going to focus more on that second one. How do we use a CPD when we're looking for a job search? So this is typically how we use a CPD in a real life situation. It's not the only way we use it, but it's certainly one of the most prevalent ways in which CPDs are being used. In other words, continuing professional development programs. Now, the interesting thing is that the role of CPD has changed. So in a stable industry, and it's hard to think about anything in IT being stable, but if we think back 20 or 30 years, the industry compared to today was relatively stable. And in that industry, in a stable industry, there are a limited number of careers, and those careers have clearly defined skills. We understand exactly what is required, and those skills and careers typically do not change much over time. So you'll find if you start in that career, you can work your entire professional life in that career, and you can start in one place and you can project 20 years into the future. And sure enough, in 20 years, if you work hard and you study hard and so on, you'll be able to achieve that objective. In IT today, in fact, let's not just talk about IT, let's talk about digital technology. In digital technology today, careers are highly dynamic. They're constantly changing. There are new things coming all the time, and new skills are being required in order to be able to deal with that. Sometimes it's very tempting for us to focus on the new technical skills that are required and forget about some of the aspects of our work that remains constant. What a continual, what a program, a CPD program like this does is it enables you to focus on those things that are emerging and that you need to add to your career path, while it also helps you not to lose sight of the things that remain constant as we go through the industry. An example of this, again, from my own experience, how many times have you heard somebody saying, don't worry about the service management stuff that you learned, because in the new technology, the technology replaces the need for that. Only to find 5 years later that you're dealing with the same problem again, but now you don't have the toolkit to be able to deal with it because it was kind of pushed aside. It's not part of your CPD anymore. Oh, I don't have to focus on capacity management, for example. That's a good one. I know a number of people, when moving into the cloud, thought, oh, thank goodness, it's on demand. We don't have to worry about capacity management. It's just when you need something, it's there. When you don't need it, you spin it down. Yes, but how can you forecast what your cloud bill is going to be if you're not doing capacity forecasting? So if you don't have the skills for capacity forecasting in your CPD as part of your cloud journey, you're really going to struggle. So capacity management is one of those things that's almost been around forever when we're talking about IT. But very often people have kind of put it to the side because they have been told that in a certain career path, we don't need that. Well, what a good CPD does is it reminds you of why those things are important. And it shows you that if you do want to go down that cloud management path, that's a great career to follow. You are going to need these technical skills. But in addition to that, there are these service management skills that are going to be really important for you in that career. So a good CPD program will help to remind you of both of those. So it does still help us, a CPD does still help us to be promoted through careers, even as they are changing a lot. But it also helps us to identify gaps in our knowledge and in our skills. And one of the things you'll see as you go through MyAxelos is you'll constantly be seeing updates. Here's what's happening. Here's our experience with AI, for example. Here's what's happening as you move from ITIL version 3 to an ITIL 4 way of thinking. Here are the differences. Here's what changes. So what the CPD is doing is not only reinforcing what you already know, but it's also identifying things that you potentially don't know yet, or things that are emerging in the industry that are important. It can also help you to evaluate those things that are not as important for your career growth. So CPD does, in that way, help us to take on new challenges, and it helps us to evolve our careers, even in a dynamic environment. And it also shows us, and this is the important thing, it does show us what it takes to stay relevant. And there's been a lot of hype in the industry, and I'm going to call it out. A lot of people say, well, this recertification thing, it's total nonsense. Why do we have, I did my ITIL V3 certificate. Why do I have to recertify? I did my ITIL 4 foundation certificate. Why do I have to write the same exam again? That's not recertification. That is a misunderstanding of the term. Term recertification is used in many different specializations and professions. And what it means is you keep your certification up to date and relevant. Well, I think we're pretty clear on the fact that the industry has undergone fundamental change in the last 10 years. If we are still using guidance that is based on something that existed 15 years ago, we're out of date, right? So it's really important for us to keep our knowledge up to date. And again, having a good CPD tells us exactly where to invest our time and our energy in updating our skills and knowledge. Now, just to end with 3 scenarios. And I'd like to talk about 3 approaches. And again, I said this was part of my personal journey. So just based on my own personal experience, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. So 3 scenarios. 1, as you take a career, you can let your career determine which jobs you take. The second one is you can let your job define your career. And the third is you can evolve your skills and knowledge to match changes in the industry. The third one is the one that is most advantageous to a professional. The first 2, though, are common approaches which are taken. Let me walk through that. So here it is. Let your career determine which jobs you take. So I want to be a service manager. I am going to start and I'm going to progress my way up. I'm going to join, as I did, as a system manager, technical person. I'm then going to evolve. I'm going to take on incident and problem management, get into some service desk support and problem diagnosis and quality improvement. I'm then going to progress, and I'm going to be let's maybe say an infrastructure director, an operations director. I have this career path that is set for me, and I'm going to follow that. The really good thing about this is that these career paths exist and are consistent across multiple organizations. So no matter where you work, you'll find that these types of career paths are pretty consistent. There's an entry-level position, you learn, you progress through, and there's a clear path as to where you can go, and eventually maybe even end up as a CIO or something along those. That's what you want to do. The skills and knowledge are mapped to the career path. It's great. And as long as you do those things right, you can progress through that career path. Now, you may need to change jobs and employers from time to time, depending on personal situation, but each move that you take is progress. Now, great option. If you want to stay in your career for life, you know that is what you want to do, and that's where you want to end up. This is a great option. Those of you who want to climb the corporate ladder, this is a really good option for you. And it's really good because if you want to follow this kind of career, they will continue regardless of industry change, right? So this is this type of career. It's pretty constant. I did this when I started. I started out, I wanted to be service manager. My aim was to become an operations director. My aim was then over time to evolve and become a CIO. That's what I wanted to do. Great advantage, secure, long-term option, many career advancement opportunities, and I took many of those. I moved jobs a couple of times, and each time was an improvement. I felt really good that I was progressing towards my objective. And my success was clearly linked to the career path. Downside of that is I thought that sometimes I did things a little bit outside of the career path that were very successful, but I didn't get recognized for them. So the risk is sometimes the career paths are slow to respond to changes in the industry. Now, this is something we're seeing a lot of. So the career path, sometimes for example, we're starting in technical support and we're aiming to go up to infrastructure management or operations management. Suddenly we find that a lot of that work is being done in the cloud. So where do we go? Do we stay in the organization and see our career prospects shrinking? Do we move into a cloud management organization? That's a very different type of organization. Or do we alter our career to do something that is still service management, still involved in technology management, but different? So yes, our career paths are changing. And how are career paths going to change with artificial intelligence and everything that's happening there? How are career paths going to continue to change as people make more and more use of cloud? Yes, there are still changes coming in cloud. So how are our career options going to grow? And what I found was that my career option was shrinking. I didn't quite understand why. But I then realized that it was, in fact, because there were many other types of work that were being done that were previously only done by people in my career path, but were now being done outside that career path, outsourced to the cloud, for example. So the other risk is that we may reject opportunities outside of our career path and then limit our growth. We may, for example, decide that we love a programming language so much that's all we ever want to do in life. But then new programming languages come along, and then we find ourselves stuck in a very narrow pool of specialists, hyper-specialized people in that path. So those are some of the risks when you just stick with a career path. In other words, as you follow this career path, you need to be able to monitor how that career is going to change depending on factors that are coming at us, both within our organization as well as industry factors. I'll get to that point in a moment. Right, here's the second scenario. Let your job define your career. Well, at a certain point, I found myself working in a very large vendor company, technology vendor company. We won't name names here. There was no formal CPD there. It was a matter of, here's your job. You work in such a large organization, over 300,000 employees back then. There are endless opportunities for you to develop your career. Wherever you want to go, it's up to you. But no formal career path or education program linked to that. So you develop your skills as your job involved. I was incredibly enthusiastic. I could see so many opportunities for myself. But the one that was available to me at the time required a switch. I had to leave my service management background, and I had to go and work more on the more technical side of the business, the data center management side, which is still kind of part of service management. In fact, it is part of service management, but it's the very technical side of service management, which I wasn't as comfortable with. But it meant a promotion. It meant getting ahead. So I had to learn a whole new set of skills. I became a portfolio manager. I had to learn about portfolio management. I didn't enjoy it that much. So I looked for another opportunity. At that stage, there was an acquisition. Fantastic. Now there was a more strategic component being added to the business. Wow, strategy, that sounds cool. I'd love to learn more about strategy. So I joined the strategy consulting group. It was amazing. I learned so much within a year. It was fantastic. In fact, as a result of that, I even started writing the ITIL version 3 service strategy book. I was learning on the job. I was writing. I was observing all kinds of things. It was wonderful. Great new career path. So now I am service manager, that is on the engineering side. Then I go into the data center management side. Now I'm on the strategy side. Combination of skills. By the way, you now need to start helping us do business development work. Oh, good. I can become a business developer. So I'm a service data center strategy business development manager. Sorry, but that's not a career path. You're going to try and find a job in another company with that combination of skills. It was great at the time because I was the go-to person. Anybody wanted to know anything on those 4 areas, I was the go-to. I felt so good about it. I was so proud of myself. My career seemed to be right at the apex. And then the company changed direction and said, you know what? All this strategy stuff, all of this consulting stuff, yeah, you know, we've kind of grown beyond where we need to be. We're going to go back to what we do best, making hardware and other things. So It was my career with that company over. Great. I had such a lot of experience from it. But where do I go from there? There were no jobs in the industry for that particular set of skills, combination of skills. So it was great for me. Pioneer, live on the cutting edge. But what I didn't realize is that has a lifespan of about 8 to 10 years. In my case, that particular job only lasted 5 years. And then it didn't exist anymore. I left the company. So great, I was in high demand. My position was secure until the company changed its strategy. And at that point, my skills were not as valuable. And the problem was my career path didn't translate to other organizations very effectively. So what I had to do is choose one. I had to go back, and I chose service management. And I had to start again. Not at the bottom, it was a sideways move. I then went and worked for another service management software company. And I learned something out of that. And that is that if you want to really make the most out of continuing professional development, what you have to do is you have to make the most of existing career paths, look for exciting new opportunities, but be very careful about how you progress through those new opportunities to the career objectives that you want. Don't just let your job choose your career for you. So here's what we do. We choose a career path, and then we monitor what's going on, which new technologies are coming, what new opportunities exist. Is this going to be marketable outside of my own organization? And I augment my career path and my growth with that information. So still a clear career path. It's the same across many organizations, but I map my skills and knowledge to the career path, and I look for gaps as that career path changes. What this does is it gives us exposure to research, new methods, things that I can learn not only to stay in a single career path, but things that I can do to adjust my career as the industry changes. Senior professionals are able to go before me, and they can share what they have learned and communicate it to me. And this is something that we do a lot on MyAxelos. You will see somebody like Roman Zhuraflev come on the call and say, here's what we're finding in service management. This is what's happening in digital management. And you can hear from them what they're learning and see how that applies to your own personal career objectives. So, great option for people who want to grow in new directions, but who like to explore those new directions from within a secure career path. Advantages: secure long-term career option, but also allows you to stay relevant with the industry changes. The CPD program that you're following must be linked to forward-thinking organizations who offer more attractive opportunities. In other words, you may find that your own organization is a little bit stagnating. It has missed the advantages of some new technology, and you really want to explore those. It's easy to use this kind of CPD program to identify those organizations that are more forward-thinking. Risks? Yeah, you still have to balance between the forward-thinking components and the established elements. Right? If you forget the established elements, like capacity management, you may find that you're really not going to benefit from the career change that you've made. And then finally, you may be frustrated by an employer who is not aligned to the emerging career paths. So you may find yourself in a position where you have to switch. But at least when you do switch, you know exactly why you're switching and what you're going to achieve by making that switch. So I'm going to end there. Of course, I will come back for any questions at the end here, but I would like to hand over now. In fact, rather just after this conclusion, do not let your current job dictate your career options unless you really love that job and it's guaranteed to last your entire career. Remember that a good CPD program combines a formal certification program with research and guidance from other senior professionals about where the industry is going. So supplement your career planning with formal sources like research companies, universities, news, industry experts like you will find on MyAxelos, peer networking, your own organization strategy. And please don't put too much trust in naysayers. Right. Listen to them.
Thank you so much, Dave. I'm laughing. I like that. Don't put too much trust.
Right. Yeah, ITIL V3 is all you'll ever need, right? Don't listen to this new stuff. Please do not hear them, but don't take them seriously. Okay.
David,
That's it for
I'm
me.
going to
Thank
stop you now because I love how passionate you are about continued professional development. It's always an absolute pleasure to hear David talk. It is also an absolute pleasure to see the level of engagement in the questions. Now, we have been answering some of them, but a lot are covered in Thanos' presentation. So we will keep going through them. Anything that's not covered, we will pick up. If you have specific questions around what you're seeing in your own profile or your own account, your certificates aren't visible in MyAxelos, you will need to reach out to our customer service team. We're unable to look, this team can't look directly into your membership account. So yeah, thank you. Over to you, Thanos.
Excellent. Fantastic. So thanks a lot, David. This was a fantastic presentation. I think as I'm going to go into the more practical aspects of how certification renewal happens in PeopleCert, one thing that we have always been discussing here at PeopleCert is also the requirement coming from corporations and companies actually for having this, for keeping certifications current. So let me share my presentation as well. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, Vicky, can you please confirm that you can see it?
I can, in presentation mode now.
Okay, excellent. So apart from all the, I think the personal aspect of CPD is something that David explained, very, very, very well and very, very deeply. But there's also another aspect. As a certification organization, as an organization that holds the intellectual property of our frameworks, we need to ensure that going in front of enterprises and corporations, we ensure that the people that we certify maintain that skill set. And so we secure the quality of your certifications, the quality of the work that you put into attaining a certification. So that's another very, very important thing. But enough with that. I think the justification is there, especially coming from David. So in the beginning of this year, PeopleCert announced what we call certification renewal. What this means is that all certificate holders can choose to renew their certification within 3 years from the time that they sit and pass their exam. This used to happen for our Prince 2 certifications, and now this has been extended to the whole Axelos suite of certifications. In reality, there are 2 ways that you can move on and keep your certifications current. One is the route that we call the exam route, meaning that you attend a course and take a related exam before the renewal date. So this actually renews your certification. And the other one is the CPD route through MyAxelos, through having a subscription and maintaining and logging in your CPD points. The very important thing that we need to understand, and something that we have done to facilitate renewal, is that certifications get renewed in what we call product suites. So it's not that every single certification gets, say, their own certification renewal. They do this in families, let's say. So all certifications within a product suite all share the same renew by date. What do we mean? So these are the 4 product suites that we currently offer with recertification. So ITIL 4 is one. So if you have 2 certifications in the ITIL 4 family, or in the the PPM family, the Prince 2 family, then by going down the certification routes that we just looked at, then all of your certifications in that family get a new renew by date. Going a little bit more into the exam route, I think PeopleCert offers quite a lot of options. These are big families or big suites of certifications. So you need to browse through our website and also talk to your training organizations maybe to see what your options are. If your renew by date is closing in, or if you're in your certification plan, your CPD plan, you see the opportunity or the need to get more certifications, please see your options and understand in this suite, in this family, what are the certificates that you could get trained for and get certified, so that you can also utilize them as a renew, as a certification vehicle. So that's the logic of the exam route, as we call it. On the CPD, and these are some more resources. Very importantly, one thing that we need to mention, the certification renewal does not apply for ITIL V3 certificates, and this is something that you should take a note of. Thinking about CPDs and MyAxelos, which is PeopleCert's membership. Again, the same logic as we talked about before in the suites. One membership, one process to keep all your certifications current. What you need to do is straightforward. You're getting a subscription to MyAxelos, you maintain it active for 3 years. Each year you log your 20 CPDs, and at the end of the 3 years, all your certifications in the suite are extended for 3 years. That's with one membership. And a few words on how the CPD points collection happens within MyAxelos. What is the policy around it? So as we said, complete 20 CPD points in terms of activities per year. 5 points of these 20 CPDs need to come from the professional experience category, which is the top level category in our table. Remember here that one activity equals one CPD point. We will explain a little bit better what an activity is. We will also show an example, but think about an activity as a work package in a project, for example. Not a task, a work package. Think about it as such. The remaining 15 points can be earned from professional experience and community. There's no limit there overall. And the rule of thumb here is that 1 hour of activity equals to 1 CPD point. Now, how does membership help with that? David went through all the great content that is offered into MyAxelos, into PeopleCert membership. So the content that you engage with inside MyAxelos can count towards these 15 points. So, for example, attending the webinars or the master classes that we do within a month actually helps you gain CPD points. And this is very important because it also serves both the need of learning and developing, engaging with the community, for example, with the webinars, but also in terms of helping you log CPD points in a straightforward way. To help, especially with our attendees and people that hold certifications from the past or are about to expire, or overall for people that want to extend their renew by date. Right now, and what you need to do is by the end of the year, go into your PeopleCert's account, visit certifications and memberships, follow the link to MyAxelos, and subscribe with an annual subscription. That's our offer, and with an annual subscription, all your certifications will be extended for 3 years, up to 2026. We've been running this offer for a few months now, and the demand has been great and very big, and that's why we decided to also extend it once more up to the end of the year. So our advice is to use this offer and get your certifications renew by date extended for another 3 years. And at the same time, get all the benefits of MyAxelos, get acquainted with the platform, get acquainted with all the fantastic content that lives in there, and start engaging with the community as well. So for those that do not know what MyAxelos is, we talked about the ability to log in CPDs and CPD points. You get digital badges by being a member in MyAxelos. However, you also skill up with all the great tools that we offer. And these are dozens of tools that we offer in the forms of templates, practice guides. Then you have the ability to attend the webinars. We're really trying to push forward with even more webinars. Right now, we're doing at least 2 per month. And we also have started a series on what we call ITIL for Practice Guides Masterclasses, where we're going very, very, very deep in the notions of ITIL for practices and practice guides with our experts. We host reports and case studies to help you. Hundreds of articles and blogs touching on industry trends, market trends, a lot on soft skills, and of course an abundance of training and exam resources like syllabi, glossary, sample papers that can help you start a new learning journey, a new training journey. Remember also, for the ITIL 4 practice guides, this is the only place to find these practice guides, and this is invaluable content for you as professionals. And also to note that we've released a few months ago our Prince2 AI practice guide. So we're starting with the same notion with Prince2. There's a lot more to come, a lot more to come. If you allow me, Vicky, and I do not know how much more time I have, I would like to go very quickly through the platform and show the functionality around CPDs.
Yeah, we have 10 minutes, Thanos, so I'm more than happy for you.
Super fast.
Okay. If you can, some of our questions are around how to log a CPD point, and I think it's really important about language here. So when we say there is no, at the moment, functionality for your attendance at this webinar, for example, to be automatically claimed, it's up to you, and true to David's point as well, to log your points. So for this webinar, you would go in, you would go under the professional education category. 1 hour is equal to 1 point. You log it, you say you were here, and you say why it was valuable to you. So I think it would be really good, Thanos, because we've got quite a lot of questions in chat around those sorts of things. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm in Axelos right now, in MyAxelos. Again, Vicky, if you can verify that you can see the screen.
Yes, I can.
Excellent. I'm here at my homepage. You can see it's very, very, first of all, the home screen allows you, first of all, to have a very quick overview of your CPD status. You can see the suites that we were talking about before. You can see if you're eligible or not eligible to log in CPDs. Eligibility means a couple of different things. So for example, if you do not hold certifications from the ITIL4 family, of course, you're not eligible. Or if you have lost your ability to add CPDs because you haven't followed the policies, then again, you're not eligible. Very quickly through the top level menu, you can jump into the CPD forms. Again, you can see, so for example, for ITIL4, I do not have any certifications, and that's why I'm not eligible to do something with that. But in my PPM suite, I do have certifications. You can see here that my first year has been completed successfully. I managed to collect 20 of the 20 CPD points required, including my 5 points for professional experience. And I've already started my year 2, and I've actually added 2 points for my second year. Adding CPDs is very, very straightforward. By clicking on the Add CPD button, I get this simple form. I select my certification, the type of CPD. I'm going to add, let's say, my professional experience. I'm going to add the professional experience. I put a description, make sure that this description is clear. For example, here I could put in the work package for helping the team prepare this webinar, which had to do with coordinating for creating the presentations and delivering the presentation, so on and so forth. So it's a work package with tasks that can actually ensure that it's related to the work that I'm doing, and then the work package around preparing and giving the presentation for the CPD webinar. And then the points that I will add is 1, and the completion date, it's going to be actually today. And then I need to add what I learned, and if I would like to include an attachment, I can include an attachment. Maybe for professional education, so for professional points, it's not adequate, and it would not require you to add an attachment. But maybe for if you attended a seminar and you have a certification of completion, you can add it here to help us review these points and prove your participation. I learned a lot. So you submit. You can see that it's a verification. It also tells me how many overall points are remaining, and also how many professional experience points are left as well. Importantly, I can go back before this certification period expires. I can go back and actually edit or delete this entry. So I have control over the system, control over what I'm doing, and quite a lot of flexibility. I hope this helps explain how the platform works. If you still have questions, you can see here, this link takes you to our CPD guide. This also is a public document. You don't need it to access it through MyAxelos only. And I think, Vicky, unless there's anything that I'm missing, we could jump into questions.
Apologies, I was on mute. Always one. So I was just saying that absolutely, I think a lot of our questions have been answered by your presentation, that demonstration. So thank you so much, Thanos. I think it's really important, obviously, to look at sort of the functionality and the approach we're taking. And we've also had some positive feedback around the fact that renewal, as we've called it, is not just about taking the same exam again. And the theme through David and Thanos' presentation is all about the fact that actually there are options for you. Please log your professional development. I've got a few questions about what can count as CPD, and I've answered it, but I wanted to make sure that I've verbalized it as well. So the answer is anything that's relevant to your own professional certifications. So it's not limited to PeopleCert content or MyAxelos content or PeopleCert certifications. As long as it's relevant to the certifications you hold, we're taking a very broad and accessible approach to what you can log. And in terms of how we check that, we do have an auditing process and we audit a sample, but please don't worry about it. For us, the whole point of this program and the MyAxelos platform is just to encourage you to start thinking about your professional development. And I hope you've been inspired by David. Lots of questions from people saying that they weren't aware that there was a renew by date for their certificates. We have put lots of communications out around this. What I would recommend is if you go into your PeopleCert candidate account, you will see the renew by date for your particular set of certificates, and then you can start thinking about your renew by options. So join MyAxelos, which will extend all of your certifications until 2026, which is a fantastic offer running until the end of the year. I've got one question. If David, you're still with us, I'd just
Vicky,
go ahead.
If I may, sorry for interrupting, but it's really important for people to understand. In order to go through this process, you need to use your PeopleCert account. You need to use the account through which you acquired your certification initially, so that we can recognize you in the system and actually assign to you what needs to be assigned in terms of the certification journey. So that's why we're saying go through your PeopleCert account and then access MyAxelos through your PeopleCert account to ensure that we know who you are when you log into MyAxelos.
Thank you, Thanos. That's a really great point. And David, I'm going to ask you to be very, very concise with 2 minutes left. So we've got a couple of questions and obviously some great feedback on your presentation, but one, what if there isn't a clear path? So what do you do around CPD if you're not quite sure where you're going, and how do you build your professional development program? 1 minute, David. You're on mute.
30 seconds now. You start with the one that is closest to the career option that you want, and then you augment it with pieces from the others. That's the shortest answer I can give.
Okay, and I think that's take the first step. And I think in all of these webinars, the advice that's come through from our experts across subject matter areas, we've had people talk about Lean Six Sigma or data science or ITIL or Prince2, is always take that first step, take a look at where you are, start where you are, one of the ITIL guiding principles, of course, and work out where you want to be and take that first step. And I think, as Thanos was saying, there's lots of broad content for those who have a broad range of interests and are looking for their next step available on the platform. Also, some great suggestions for webinars coming in that we will take a look through. What we will do in the follow-up comms, a lot of the questions that people are asking are all answered on our website, and I appreciate that because of the depth and richness of the fantastic presentations from David and Thanos, we haven't got to all of your questions. So when we send the kind of the follow-up comms, I'm going to ask for certain links to be dropped in. Everything around this is available on our website around how renewal works, both from the exam route and the continued professional development route. If you have a specific question about why you can't see particular qualifications or badges within MyAxelos, please do contact our customer service team. As Thanos said, it could well be due to the fact that you potentially have a PeopleCert account with one email address and a MyAxelos account with another email address, and our customer service team would just need to do some magic behind the scenes to make sure those are linked and you have all that visibility. So we are at our hour. I feel like we could carry on for a very long time, but I am mindful of the fact that that, you know, hundreds of you have come and joined us and given up their time. I promise you that we will go through all of the questions, and apologies to everybody that we didn't get to answer. I'm hoping that a lot of them were answered via the presentations, but I will take a look through afterwards. So all that remains for me to say is thank you very much to David and Thanos for coming and sharing their knowledge and wisdom with us today. But most importantly, thank you to all of you for coming, for listening, hopefully for being ready to come, for those of you to come and start and think about your next step from a continued professional development point of view. I know my next step is to study for my Prince 2.7 foundation, so that's on the list for me as one of the PeopleCert's team members who is making that commitment. Any closing remarks, Thanos and David, and anything to add?
I think it's, you know, we've done this presentation a few times, and it's always exciting in terms of the opportunities and also in terms of trying to play the role of helping people progress with their careers. This is really motivating for us as well. So really happy to engage in these webinars and conversations.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone for joining us.